Yes people, what is good? I am BA, back once again with another reaction in the Chernobyl series. This is episode 3. I actually didn't check the title of this episode before I started this reaction, so I apologise. I'm unsure as to what it's called just now, but I will get on that when I finish. Last episode, I found it so pleasantly surprising. It was basically just as interesting as the first, even though, you know, the actual disaster happened in episode 1. It was a direct continuation straight from the events of the first episode, and there was a lot of moving parts to it, and I basically don't know the names of any of the moving parts, so these guys are all getting nicknames, and I do apologise. The first thing we see happen is they get an actual reading from the site by lead lining a truck and making a guy drive in there. Rest in peace to that poor fucking dude, I hope he survived. But yeah, the actual reading was something like 15,000. From what I gather, 3.6 is the equivalent of 400 x-rays, and 15,000 over the course of 7 hours is the equivalent of 40 Hiroshima bombs. So that gives you the scale of how fucking wrong they were in a mathematical figure right there, and it's just shocking. This whole thing has been shocking and frustrating. My Patreons have mentioned after I've started watching this that this is one of the most frustrating shows of all time. Not surprised it's regarded as such. I definitely felt that these first 2 episodes. Incompetent guy with the glasses who was doing the confession videos in episode 1 shows up and suggests that they dump a mixture of, was it sand and borium? I've probably got the chemical component wrong. Let's just call it sand. He says that they need to dump sand on it. Obviously it's not going to solve all their problems, but it's going to at least put out the fires. So they get helicopters up there. The first helicopter that tries to dump the sand crashes itself. Again, not sure if this happened in real life when they tried to dump the sand off, if that was for dramatic effect, but either way it doesn't surprise me because of the place that they are being instructed to fly over. The sand gets dumped eventually, they put out the fire, but what they have essentially done is traded fire for lava. There is no fire that's going to spread, but they have a liquid molten lava now in that place. They don't have that much of an issue with it, but then we meet another scientist and she has the blueprint schematic of the Chernobyl site, and she realises that there's tankers underneath the place where the lava is, and they all think that these tankers are empty, but she realises that because of the way that the flooding or draining system has worked, or due to leakages, these tanks have now been refilled, which means they're going to explode and cause, I think it was a 30 or 40 kilometre wide blast, basically rendering many countries in that area of Europe obsolete. So she, understandably, races the fuck over to Chernobyl and breaks the shit down to these guys, which leads to an absolutely horrific suicide mission by the end of the episode, where 3 brave engineers step up and agree to be the guys that are going to go back into the site and drain these fucking tanks. And what a terrifying end to the episode it was, just watching the 3 of them wade through that radiated water. Then they got to the spot where there was like a leak coming up through the water, which was the highest, densest point of radiation, and the Geiger counters started to go crazy, and then one by one the torches started to die, and that's exactly where we finished, with them in pitch blackness, Geiger counters going apeshit, and then just the end of the episode. So I do not know what happened to these guys. I don't know if they're successful in their mission, but of course there is only one way to find out, so without further ado, this is episode 3 of Chernobyl. Let's check it out and see what it's saying to it. I hear a Geiger counter. Are we going to be starting exactly where we left off? Yes, we are. The one thing you could take away from it and logicize is they certainly knew they were gonna die, you know, when they went here. So a torch going out and them just being in the blackness, that won't be scary to these guys. These guys face death when they put their hands up. And at least they got the torches back on. God damn it, last episode, don't you red herring me with a broken torch. I've been thinking about this torch's battery life all week, how dare you? Why is he, like, pulling a little lever on his torch? Is it literally pump-powered electricity or something?
Is it possible that the water has already killed them?
Yes.
I mean, I'm surprised these guys aren't dead sitting in a jeep outside away from the actual place, let alone wading in the water of the ground zero of it. If I was in a desert and somebody offered me a glass of this water, I would drink the sand. Thank fuck they made it out alive. Probably the 3 biggest heroes we've had in this show so far, I would say. Those suits couldn't have protected them from the radiation though. I mean, these guys must be marked for death having done that.
Vasily Ignatenko, he's a firefighter from Chernobyl. I have permission.
Chernobyl? I'm sorry, no visitors.
Ah, fuck, that must have been so tough for family members. She's taking the bribe. I did not expect reception lady to be a bribe taker, but there you go.
You can see him for 30 minutes. Not a minute more. And you cannot touch him in any way. Do you understand?
Fucking hell, this is brutal. This poor woman's willing to give the last note out of her purse just to see her husband, and she just doesn't understand the severity of the level of radiation that he's intaking. Oh, she shouldn't touch him. She's been told not to touch him, what the fuck? Even that small amount of touching, is that gonna give her radiation damage? I wish I knew the extent of what this right now will cause, but I do know they specified that she should not do this, and this is literally the only thing she has done in that room. Look at it, again, I've just realised, episode 3 straight away, frustrating me. Who wrote this shit? Gonna track them down and kick them right in the shin.
30 kilometers when we know here cesium-137 in the Gomel district, that's 200 kilometers away.
Oh fuck. Oh, I'm just going to have to get used to the fact this is what this show is going to do to me. Every decision made by everyone is going to be wrong, and a few people, and us the audience, will be left banging our heads off the wall.
It's from the cladding on the fuel rods.
Meaning what?
The meltdown has begun.
And what does that mean? When the meltdown begins, what happens? Well, at least her cheek's okay so far. I was half expecting her to take her face off the wall there and be like Two-Face.
Get off him! You're hurting him!
Jesus Christ, that's fucking horrible. This episode has started off so rough.
We have successfully eliminated the risk of a thermal explosion.
That genuinely is good news though. In amongst all the other shit, at least there's not going to be a 40-kilometer explosion.
The fuel will breach the pad and melt down into the groundwater itself.
And where does this groundwater go?
The Pripyat River.
Oh, fuck. What the fuck? What dick shit? Built a nuclear reactor above a water supply leading to a river.
The half-life of plutonium-239 is 24,000 years, so perhaps we should just say not within our lifetimes.
I know though that nowadays people do go to Chernobyl, so at some point they must have reduced the radiation significantly to even be venturing out there. Saw a weird documentary once about people still living in an irradiated place.
Skin blisters, turns red then black. The immediate effects subside. The patient appears to be recovering.
So horrible because this is basically what's going to happen to this firefighter we've seen.
The organs and soft tissue begin to decompose. The arteries and veins spill open like sieves.
That is absolutely disgusting.
Within 3 days to 3 weeks, you're dead.
That's got to be one of the worst ways to go.
In a sense, it would seem we've gotten off easy then.
Yeah, and the fact that they still understand that getting cancer years from now is getting off easy compared to the people that were directly exposed to it shows that at least they're showing some sympathy for what some of the people here have went through.
You can presume the work site is bugged. And our rooms, even our bathrooms.
What are they bugging their rooms for? I understand a certain level of damage control, but this instant clandestine government threat on the officials working on it, why is that? Don't they want the public to have all the knowledge? Or what are they worried about? That they tell the truth? Surely the truth is going to help as many people as possible. This shit is going down right now, and they're already stalking them, trying to stop them from telling anyone. And also, it makes me think he was lucky when he was in that hotel and that couple at the bar asked him if there was anything to worry about. He said no, because there could have been people watching him in that room. In fact, was that the couple he said he'd seen before? No way, I bet it was.
Because if we don't find out how this happened, and will happen again.
Very good point. People were so sure of the technology of the core, but if it can in fact explode, then there must be either a fault in it or something they're not taking into account, because they were literally dead certain 100% there is no way the core could have been compromised. It's a testament to how good the technology was for it, that they were also confident in it, but also there just must be something that they overlooked, and if any of them can figure out what that was, it could prevent so many lives lost in the future all around the world.
How many men do you have?
On this shift, 45 here, 100 in total.
Are they going to try and take the coal engineers and move them over to the radiation?
Come on then. Start shooting. You haven't got enough bullets for all of us.
These guys know they're trying to be taken to Chernobyl. They would rather die now.
The reactor fuel is going to sink into the ground and poison the water from Kiev to the Black Sea. All of it.
So they're putting these guys on the mission of getting rid of that? Well, this is another suicide mission.
Do you need to know, or have you heard enough?
Well, this is another brave group of guys right here. Nice. Making him one of their own by coaling up his suit. What a fucked up transformation he's having from the first moment she saw him in the hospital to now. It doesn't even seem like that long.
Where are the others? They took them to a special room.
We literally saw this guy in one scene when he was living his normal, homely life, and from that point on, he has had the most fucked up time in this show, out of the survivors. Then all his organs are gonna fucking decompose and turn to slush inside him, and his arteries are gonna sieve out blood. This is going to be fucking horrible, and I know the show is going to do this. Fuck you in advance, Chernobyl. I know you're taking it there.
You see St. Basil's?
Someone forgot their sunscreen. The other thing that is a bit annoying is, the nurses let her in, but they didn't give her any protective equipment, gloves, plastic shoe coverings like the rest of them are wearing. If they wanted to help her, they would have given her all of that shit, to stress the severity of contact. They just let her go in there in her normal clothes.
You can get the fuck out of my room.
Is that the guy who had the moustache in episode 1? It sounds like him. It just looks nothing like him. Seriously, big up these guys. And what I like about these guys is, you know, I was criticising last episode that room full of engineers when only 3 people put their hand up. These coal miners literally put the decision for their lives in the hands of their boss, and if their boss wanted to do it, they all had his back. It made that group of engineers last episode seem more disjointed and selfish, while these coal miners are just all for the singular goal. The hive mind. That's who you want doing a mission.
My advice, tell the truth. These men work in the dark. They see everything.
Yeah, I feel like they should be 100% transparent with these miners. They've already agreed to come and do the mission. The least you can do is tell them how severe it is. You don't need all those guys. If some of them honestly want to make the decision to leave, they deserve the right to.
Do these work?
To an extent.
That guy made his decision in a heartbeat. He learnt the news the face masks were not going to be enough, and he was like, okay, give me my last cigarette, let's do this.
Is it going to fall on top of us?
Not if you're done within 6 weeks.
I hope he's right about that 6 weeks thing. That better be an accurate number.
Because we need to keep disruption of the ground above to a minimum, you can't use any heavy machinery. It has to be done by hand.
This is an incredibly difficult mission.
At that depth, you'll be shielded from much of the radiation.
We're not 12 meters below ground now.
That guy was right about this coal miner. He is missing nothing.
If these worked, you'd be wearing them.
Good point. Wow, this guy clocked all the bullshit and then left. What a G. I hope he survives.
Are they all like that?
They're all like that.
I've never met someone who's actually employed as a coal miner, but if that's what they're all like, I would like to have a few in my life. Fuck you, Margaret Thatcher. Who knew the Channel Tunnel's origin story was so dark?
We need fans.
For what purpose?
What do you mean for what purpose?
They think you're fucking tunnel, that's why.
Is this a Scottish actor, by the way? I've never seen him in anything before, but he sounds very Scottish.
I'm sorry. For your own good. No fans.
Fuck, that is ruthless, but also the guy makes a fair point. You do not want this kind of dust in your lungs. I mean, you don't want coal dust in your lungs either, if I'm being honest with you. It's kind of a shit deal either way, but... Oh my god. These makeup effects are really, really powerful, man. They look so painful and brutal.
I am the senior reactor control chief engineer at Chernobyl nuclear power plant.
Oh man, so that'll be why he's so fucked up. He was right inside with the reactor. Because he's under such good makeup effects, I'm finding it hard to recognise which one he was in episode 1, but I'm assuming we did see him while he was not like this. I don't know who did the makeup effects for this show, but they did it so well. It makes me absolutely hate that guy making all those stupid decisions in episode 1 as well.
It isn't safe for you.
He's my husband.
Not anymore. He's something else now, do you understand? He's dangerous to you.
Okay, so this episode might not quite be as frustrating as the last few thus far, but it's the roughest. This is horrible. And I don't know how many times I've used the word horrible in this reaction, but a lot of this shit is just tough to watch. It's like I'm watching fucking Requiem for a Dream or Trainspotting or something. But that's what love does. You can't even call this woman stupid. If it was your loved one and you thought they might be dying, you would be like, fuck the radiation, I need to see them. Holy fucking shit! I have absolutely no words for that.
We're gonna have a baby.
So she lied about being pregnant to the nurse as well. Well, because you lied, you might not be having a baby now. Trying to think if that's maybe one of the toughest things I've had to watch on this channel. I think it probably is maybe the toughest. There's been way more graphic violence, but it's different in a horror film. That's contextually fantasy horror for fun, or for horror's sake, for the thrill ride, for the roller coaster of it. This is like a genuine thing that happened, and you're watching a husband literally deteriorate physically, cell by cell, in front of his wife. And just the way he looks now, in comparison to when she first walked in there and he was smoking a cig playing cards. Shocking. This is a lot of full frontal male nudity. Statistically, there must be at least one dude down there who's gay, who is having a slightly less shit time than everyone else down there. I know his mind wouldn't be on that in such a drastic circumstance, but still, at least he'd be looking around going, well, you know, if you gotta die somewhere.
Will they be looked after? I don't know.
What do you even say to that? It's like, mate, we are going on a potentially life-altering, DNA-altering, cell-destroying suicide mission for you, and you can't even say you'll back us if any of us crawl back out of this alive. I genuinely don't know how I would take that at that point. I would feel somewhat betrayed by my own country. I'm trying to put myself in that guy's shoes, and like, if it was something in Scotland, and I was like, you know, a minor in Scotland, and I got tasked with that, and my own government was saying that to me about the team of brave dudes who I'd convinced to go down there, I'd maybe tell them to all go home. I'll say, I'll stay, you all go home.
Why didn't you press the AZ5 button?
I did. And that's when it exploded.
So if the guy pressed an emergency shutdown button and then it exploded, is that like a malfunction in the wiring of the button? I'm not saying like he pressed the button and that caused the thing to explode. It's not like a fucking cartoon bomb. Was there like a faulty thing so that button didn't work? Or did Akimov secretly not press the fucking button? Fucking hell. He looks like that dude in Seven they find in the bed. Hopefully this nuclear physicist lady is going to be safer than the wife of the firefighter, because she is actually wearing appropriate stuff and not getting into close contact with any of these people.
Get out. Get out of here. Manko, let me go. Stop it.
Thank God she saw her doing that. She might have just saved her life or her baby's life.
She's pregnant.
It's not true.
What have you done? What kind of a place is this? Where is her protection?
This woman is going to regret it if she loses her child because she did that.
I've been authorized by Valery Legasov. You can check this. My name is Ulana
We know who you
Hom.
are.
Why have the government tasked these spies with shutting people up? It's not whistleblowing 4 days after something happens, it's warning people of imminent death. Surely there's a fucking difference. What, you're not allowed to warn people of imminent death? If everyone's gonna die anyway, what's the fucking point? Them spies are gonna die being there the same way.
And they and everyone in this room are to be commended.
I am sick of seeing people in suits and ties giving themselves a round of applause in this show. Imagine, I know the writer wrote this shit knowing I would hate this. He sat there going, you know what, after he says that, what if they all clap for themselves? And I just imagine his little fucking wickedly chuckling face writing that, knowing that people like me right now have got to have to sit and watch it, furious.
Thank you.
Oh, fuck off. Isn't that the guy who plays Caesar in Rome and also the King Beyond the Wall Mance Rhaegar in Game of Thrones?
This entire region must be completely evacuated.
I hope they actually listen to him this time. He's been talking about this 200-kilometre radius for this whole episode, and just now people have been evacuated to 30. That is 170 kilometres less than they need to be evacuated by.
We will have to raise entire forests. We will have to rip up the top layer of earth and bury it under itself.
Just basically turn that entire radius upside down, in and out, burn it.
There will be deaths.
Oh, don't worry, we already know that.
How many deaths?
Thousands. Perhaps tens of thousands.
The reported number is around 100 people, but that's just at the actual site. What about the cancer later on, and the cell damage, and the infant mutation births and shit like that? None of that's accounted for in that number. And the animal deaths, which I raised the point of last episode. What about the fucking hamsters?
That's why I don't have to bother with arresting people anymore.
But you are bothering with having us followed.
He deserves to have an explanation as to why he's being followed.
KGB is a circle of accountability. Nothing more.
KGB, so they're not Ukrainian special forces or spies, they're Russian spies. We got some Spetsnaz motherfuckers around this place.
Good day, Professor.
God, that guy's got the stoic, cold-hearted delivery of a true serial killer. I would not believe a single word he says, especially about the people following him being there for his safety.
Naive idiots are not a threat.
And again, a threat in what way? I do not know why there's such a big cover-up. Why are the KGB covering shit up? What the fuck's that about? Are they in some way involved with this facility? I thought this was a Ukrainian thing. Or is there a Ukrainian KGB?
They were stupid. I was stupid. Dyatlov won't talk to me.
No, you were not stupid. You did the right thing getting that woman out of the room, and I can't believe that the KGB arrested you for doing so. You are under arrest. What is my charge? Trying to save lives? Get to fucking jail.
Do you think the fuel will actually melt through the concrete pad?
I don't know. 40% chance, maybe.
I've got faith in these miners. I think the miners will get this job done. I mean, it's horrific conditions. There may be many of them dying from heat exhaustion and or radiation damage, but they seem like a hardy bunch.
I want to stop. But I can't.
I was going to say, of course you can't. Neither of you can. You both know too much and can help too much, so you would live the rest of your lives knowing that you didn't do enough if you didn't do everything you could.
Did you know that they were running a safety test?
Is this supposed to be suspicious? Is running a safety test at the same time as a core malfunction suspicious? And the fact that he pressed the button and it didn't work?
They both agreed. They were adamant.
Does this mean it was a setup?
We have to pursue every possibility, no matter how unlikely, no matter what or who is to blame.
Is this show suggesting, maybe I'm completely off here, but is this show suggesting that in some way this facility was tampered with? Is this show suggesting that Russia did it? Maybe I'm way off there, I don't fully get what they were insinuating with that conversation, but it definitely seems like there was something else going on at the time of the reactor explosion. Some shit wasn't working properly, there was a safety test being ran simultaneously, that's suspect as fuck. Oh well, That's her husband dead. I feel so sorry for this woman, but at the same time, the frustration in this episode has been coming mostly from her. She's made so many dangerous decisions. Now her husband's dead anyway, and she might have jeopardised the life of her unborn child by being in close proximity like that and making such regular contact with him. It's incredibly horrible regardless. Like, I'm not sitting here thinking, oh, you idiot. I'm sitting here thinking, can't believe episode 1 to episode 3, this is the change in what was just a normal couple going through a normal family life. I kind of prefer the metal coffin to a wooden one, you know? It's like if you were to bury the Mandalorian. That's so, like, undignified. Obviously, you know, people are dead, who gives a shit at the end of the day, you know, it doesn't have to be respectful, I guess, but, you know, the ceremonial side of humans filling a hole in comparison to a giant cement mixer just fucking beeping as it reversed up to your deceased loved ones' coffins to fill it up with that fresh cement, I don't know. It's an incredibly undignified thing to have to witness as a member of the family of one of the dead people in one of them coffins. Not even dirt. It's like we chose concrete, the same thing that the nuclear lava is currently melting through at the site they died at. Okay, and that was Chernobyl episode 3, and I will be back in just a minute with my thoughts on that. So, episode 3, what did I think of that? Well, it took the frustration and fury which I was getting from episodes 1 and 2 and decided to replace it with complete misery and brutality and horrific scenes from basically start to finish. Just so tough to watch, and I watch so much shit and I'm unaffected by it. You can see my reactions to horrors on this channel. I'm not a very squeamish person, but just because this is based on an actual event, it hits completely differently to the gore you see in horror, as it should. So when this woman first gets to the hospital with her husband, he's just slightly burned in the face and he's playing cards and smoking a cigarette. It looks okay, but we know there's the underlying danger of her being in close proximity. I personally am not educated on the direct effects of radiation on someone, how they deteriorate, etc. So when we saw that scene, all we knew, if you were like me, was okay, she shouldn't be going near him like that. She shouldn't be hugging him like that. They've told her not to hug him. What is she doing? But then later on in the episode, Competent Guy broke down the entire deconstruction of the human body once exposed from A to Z, and that horribly foreshadowed the rest of the episode with what happened to her husband. And even worse, she announced she was pregnant. She held that back from the nurses. The nurses specifically said to her, "You're not pregnant, are you?" So I'm assuming there's an even higher chance of infant death or mutation of cells in infants if you're in close proximity or radiation while pregnant. And she didn't listen to any of this, which at that point it's like you have to be a bit angry at her. You're carrying a human life, and on top of that, your husband is mortally wounded, and this might be his only lineage that you're holding within yourself, and you're putting that in danger just to be stupid, not even follow the guidelines. Like, it would have been cool for him to see him and just stand at the other side of the room, wear some protective shit, leave after 30 minutes like they advised. She took none of the advice. I don't know if that's her ignorance towards radiation or just the power of love, but regardless, she was straight away holding his hand, kissing his hand, doing the dumbest shit imaginable. And of course it hit much different after the earlier scene of Competent Guy explaining why this is so fucked up and what's going to happen to him. And I've got a horrible feeling we're going to see some long-term repercussions of her doing this in episodes 4 and 5 in regards to her unborn child. I just see it coming. It's going to be horrible, but she did not listen to a single thing those nurses said, and it is going to come back to bite her hard. And also, like I said, I sympathise with her. It's your loved one. You'd be like, fuck the radiation. They look like they're nearly dead. They need me there for them. I can't even call her stupid. The only thing I think is, surely you would have that same love for your child, and she knew she was carrying a baby and she completely disregarded any of the worry of that to do that. So I guess that makes her fucking incredibly selfish. selfish and just thinking about her own emotions, to be honest. She should not have done that. And yes, sooner or later, she will be in tears because of her decision throughout this episode. And even more tragic, by the end of the episode, we saw him getting put in a coffin and buried anyway, so rest in peace to that guy. We didn't really get to spend much time with his character, to be honest. Like I said during this reaction, we got one scene of him with her in their home having a normal life, seeing the explosion out the window, and then instantly he was called on firefighter duty. And from there, we've just seen him having to deal with these fucking effects and watch him slowly deteriorate to the point where we got the final of what the competent guy was explaining to us earlier, and he just basically broke down in front of us. I know I've said it so many times, but it's just ghastly. Okay, I haven't said ghastly yet. That's my placeholder word for horrible. Ghastly to watch. Fucking ghastly. And then in amongst that, we find out the KGB are already starting to watch them. As I said, what is the point? You're not whistleblowing at this point, you're raising awareness to people and helping to save lives. Why they would instantly want to put spies on the case of these people who seem to be in the know and talking common sense, I have no idea. But that is starting to tie in with what we saw in episode 1, where to his dying day, I guess, the KGB was still watching his every move. Incompetent nuclear physicist lady was interviewing some of the survivors, and she managed to get some interesting information that there was a safety test being ran just before, and also he pressed the shutdown button and it didn't work just before the explosion. And the way she said that information to competent guy at the end of the episode, it's like they were suggesting there was perhaps some insidious tampering. I don't know if I got that completely right, but it seems like that's what they were suggesting. And then judging by the fact the KGB are hanging around, unless there's also a Ukrainian KGB, that leads me to believe that perhaps they're insinuating that Russia was involved. I do not know if I'm just completely off course with this, or that is what they are suggesting, but if that's the case, that's never been made official in real life. I've never heard anything like that about Chernobyl. Anything I've ever heard about that disaster was just that it was a horrific disaster. I wasn't even aware of the incompetencies involved, let alone the suggestion there was some dodgy shit going on. And every episode, like seriously, this week again, even though episodes 1 and 2 were good, this week I was just thinking about it and I was like, it's got to be a more boring one this week because that's happened now and that's happened now, so you know, I guess it's going to go a bit downhill from there, but no, just once again an incredible episode, from the opening scene of getting to see those 3 brave guys that got the hydrogen things emptied coming out alive, all the way through. And also I need to shout out, I loved the coal miner characters they brought into it. So cool to see a bunch of guys just up for helping, strong-willed people that you can't bullshit, and they went there and now they're building their tunnel into this place to get rid of that shit before it goes through the concrete. And I will not get to see whether or not they are successful in their mission until next week, and I cannot wait to watch it. If you've liked this reaction, click like, subscribe to the channel to see more videos like this, ring the bell to be notified as to when they drop. If there's anything you want to talk about, comment down below, and share these around to anyone you think might appreciate it or want to watch these reactions along with us. My Patreon link is down in the description. If you become a patron, you get access to my blog, you get access to these reactions I put on YouTube a month and a half in advance, and you also get access to full-length versions of everything I react to. So consider becoming a patron, it helps me and my channel out so much, and until next time, I have been BA, peace.